All right, so making money. How do you make more money? It's pretty simple, actually. It's not always easy. Make sure you make the distinction between easy and simple. But if you want to make more money, here's the key to it. It's a very simple key, and it's two words: add value. All right, you need to add value to people's lives, and there's a number of ways you can add value to people's lives. All you have to do is just look around, look outside, look at the local businesses, look at local entrepreneurs, look at people online, look at what people do for a living. And by the way, if you have questions about maybe how you can make more money, I mean, I do consulting. I actually charge people money to give them my advice. So on here though, if you have a question, post it in the comments, and if I can get to your question, I'll actually answer your question. All right, so the key to making more money in the next 7 days is to add value. You want to think about how you can add value to somebody's life. You know, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. All right, that's very valuable to me. And so it's a service I pay for. Somebody, a guy opened a gym near me, and I decided to start going and training, and I was paying him money because it's valuable to me. It's a skill I wanted to know. It's something that I think everybody should know. And I even have my 7-year-old son and my 5-year-old daughter just started. My wife even started. All right. But it's all about adding value. It's figuring out what people want and solving their problem. That's valuable. Sometimes it could be a skill like that. Other times the value that you add might just be comic relief. It might be entertainment value. If you're a comedian, the value that you bring to people, if you're Larry the Cable Guy, the value you bring is humor. It's funny. People like me like to laugh. It's healthy to laugh. Even the Bible says that laughter, I think it was in the Bible, it's kind of late. I did an hour and a half of jiu-jitsu and an hour of yoga afterwards, but I'm pretty sure it's the Bible that says that humor is laughter is like a good medicine. And so when you can find some way to add value to people's lives, that's when people are going to start pulling out their wallets, and they're going to start paying you for that, as they should. All right, a lot of people have this idea that making money is somehow not noble. Somehow it's noble to not have a lot, or to struggle, or to just have enough for yourself. Even growing up, I heard a lot of people say, they'd say things like, I don't need a lot of money. I just need enough for myself to get by. Because they thought that was noble. They thought that was selfless. Truthfully, that's probably the most audaciously selfish thing anybody could ever say. Because you know what? We live in a world where there are a lot of people who struggle. And if you only make enough so that you can get by, just your forward, no more, however you want to say it, that's a really selfish way and very narrow way to think. Because there's probably somebody in your neighborhood, depending on the neighborhood you live in, there could be dozens of people in your neighborhood who are struggling right now. And it would be a huge blessing if somebody could just toss them a line. They're in a tough spot financially. And if you're only doing good enough for you, what value, what blessing can you be to that person? You can't be much of one at all. And here's something I really hate. See, I'm a Christian and I'm a believer, and I know a lot of other believers. I cannot stand when I see somebody on Facebook put something and they'll say, hey, I'm going through a hard time. Please keep me in your prayers. I'm short on the rent money. We're about to get evicted. And then you have about 50 comments of people saying, we're praying for you. Look, I believe in the power of prayer, but I also believe sometimes God wants you to stop praying for an answer for that person and to start being the answer to that prayer yourself that person is praying. Sometimes we just need to stop praying so much for people when it's within our means to be the answer to the prayer that they are begging God for so they can get by. All right, so I want you to think about how you can be of value to people there. And you know what? If you're being of value to somebody like that, you're probably not going to get anything financially out of it, obviously, if they don't have anything. But you never know. Things come around in many, many different ways. By the way, if you're trying to make money in a business or or maybe you're trying to get another job, you have a money question, feel free to comment here. I'd be happy to answer your question. And if I don't know the answer, I could probably, I probably do know the answer, but if I don't know the answer, I could definitely, I'm sure, refer you to somebody who probably would. I know a lot of people. And so, you know, when it comes to money, it's all about adding value, and that's giving people what they want, or solving a problem they have that they don't know how to get around. Like when I go speak for the military, great example. In fact, they pay me less than anybody, so don't think of, you know, Brian's getting rich off the military. You know, I've spoken free many times for them because I care, but you know, I have to justify the time financially. But when I go and speak for the military, why do they hire me and not somebody else? Why do they hire Brian Fleming to come talk on resilience and not somebody else? Because they know my backstory. They not only know what I've been through, getting blown up in Afghanistan, injured by a suicide bomber, and all that backstory, but they know that I bounced back from a lot of those issues. They know that I've gotten beyond a lot of that stuff. I've even written books on it. I speak all over the world. I think to date, someone said I've spoken across 42 U.S. states in 7 countries and on 4 continents over the past decade, which is so cool. Like I've just, helping people has opened the world to me because I just wanted to help people. And when you go reach out there and you just seek to help people, opportunities come that you would never get otherwise. In fact, money isn't the only reward that comes. Sometimes, in fact, I'll tell you, there have been occasions where because I was out trying to do good things, rewards came that were better than money. Now, I realize money is important, but there are some things in life, people find this hard to believe, some people that are better than money. There's a lot of things better than money, even though money is very necessary. And one of those has been personal mentors in my life. When I first got out of the hospital and I met my first mentor, the guy who taught me how to speak, he taught me how to share my story. He threw me up on stage for the first time in front of 3,000 people when I was still in burn bandages and said, "Hey, Brian, come on up here, tell them about yourself." I was just trying to help people. And there have been so many blessings. That relationship with him, that friendship I have, there is no way I could ever put a price tag on my friendship with that man, nor would it ever be up for sale. It's invaluable. It's more valuable than money. And not only that, money comes and goes. There are resources out there. There's a lot of ways to get those resources. But our friendships with people like that, those are eternal connections. Those are things that are so far beyond value, it's hard to even fathom how valuable they are. So if you're struggling financially, I understand you might be in a job where you have a limit on your income. Maybe just the position just doesn't pay anymore. Maybe you lost your job. That's tough. But realize also, you can add value not just by the professional skill you have, but also by, let's say, the hobbies you have. I mean, everybody has technical skills. People have job skills, these things they can offer in the marketplace. But you also have a lot of personal skills. You also, you might be really good at teaching things. In fact, right now I'm tossing around the idea, and let me know if you're interested. I'm just tossing the idea around. I've learned about myself over these past 5 to 10 years that I'm very good at creating words that sell products and services. I've learned that I'm a creator, definitely, that I'm a teacher at heart, that I'm able to break complicated things down and teach people 1, 2, 3, to break complicated things down into a simple plan and teach people. And so I'm actually toying with the idea of starting another consulting practice, teaching small business owners how to write words that can create more sales for them and connect them in more meaningful relationships with their customers. Because I've done it, I've helped other people do it, I've made a considerable amount of money doing it. So that's another way I can add value, let's say, to small business owners who are looking to get more customers, close more sales. They're looking to increase their income, maybe bump up their revenue so they can step back a little bit and have some more free time with their families, and so they can lead and love those who matter most in a way that's meaningful and not have their kids resent them. That's one way that I can offer that. Like I said, with the military, I offer resilience training. people know I've overcome a lot of things in my life, and I'm certainly not indestructible, and nobody is. But that's something I've done. That's something, I have tactics. I have things that I know how to do to help other people overcome suicidal tendencies, post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety. I've done this, and I've done it myself. I taught other people. Like my 12 closest friends are all extreme tragedy survivors. Most of what I know, I learned from them. All right, and we all kind of help each other. Again, that goes back to the importance of relationships. All right, so think about what you know. There's a lady who was a yoga instructor there tonight at the jiu-jitsu place after we were done. She does personal training, helps people stay healthy, stay in shape. I can just think of like a million different things that people do to add value. And sometimes it's not a full-time job. Sometimes you start off doing something just on the side. In fact, I had one friend who, I don't remember who it was, but basically he was in a situation where he's doing well in his job, in his position, and he wants to get promoted. He's hungry to do more, which is awesome to have an employee like that, by the way. That's a hard person to find. And he said he kept asking for promotions. What more can I do? I want to add more value. And they basically shot him down. And they said, no, you're doing the job well. That's all that's required. And we can't pay you anymore. And we can't justify that. And so he felt plateaued. He felt stuck, like there was a glass ceiling over top of him. And I told him what he needed to do because he was hungry to do more. All right? And I told him, we need to sit down and we need to look at what you know how to do. What do you enjoy doing? And that, by the way, if you're looking for your purpose in life, you might want to write these three things down. I don't know if I heard them somewhere or if I made them up. It's probably a conglomeration of all of them. But I always say this. What are you really, really good at? Like, number one, where are you highly competent? Where are you highly competent? What do you really enjoy? And then where does it meet a great need in the world? All right, because that last one's really important too. Some people say, oh, you should just do what's your passion. Look, some people don't care about your passion, and they're certainly not going to pay any money for it. All right, my passion is riding my motorcycles through the Rocky Mountains in the western U.S. and Canada. I haven't found anyone to pay me to do that yet. All right, but it's, where are you highly competent? People need to know you know what you're talking about. What do you really enjoy? Because if you hate what you do, what's the point in doing it? And then that third one, where does it meet a great need in the world? That's called marketability, where it meets a great need in the world. All right, so you want to look at those three things, list these things out, get a piece of paper and divide it into 3 sections. Where are you highly competent? What do you enjoy? And where does that meet a great need in the world? Where those 3 things overlap in the middle like concentric circles, I think that's what they're called. I've been out of high school quite some time, in college too, but where those things overlap, that will give you a really specific snapshot of what you might want to do to add more value to the world and, yes, make more money as a result. Don't ever think that making money is a bad thing. Look, I'm just going to say how I'm thinking. That is a piss-poor mentality that pathetic people have. All right, that's a lot of P's too. All right, but I'm serious. If you just make enough for you and you can't do anything for anybody else, that is sad if that is your goal. If you're there right now, you need to do better than that. And with training and time and mentors and learning, constantly learning and trying to do better, you'll probably get to that point. But don't ever think that, hey, I'm taken care of and I'm good. Look, that isn't why you're here. I believe you are here for a greater reason to serve the world, influence the world, and help people. That's why I believe we're all here. All right, and money simply magnifies who you are. All right, so if you're a dirtbag without money, when you get money, you're going to be a really rich dirtbag who's going to do even worse things. But if you're a really generous person, even when you don't have anything, when you get a lot of money, it is highly likely you will be extremely generous and do great things with the resources that have been entrusted to you. All right. There's even a story in the Bible about the parable of the talents. If you've never heard of that, a talent was a currency back then. I don't recall what exactly the currency was, but it's interesting. There are a lot of people in the Christian arena, the religious arena, where they think money's a bad thing. They have this whole mentality flipped backwards, because if you read the parable of the talents, one guy was given, I think, again, I'm tired, so I'm not recalling. One guy was given like 10 talents, the other guy was given like 3 or 4, and then the last guy was given 1. Well, the guy who got 10 basically doubled his money. He went out and he made double the investment, okay? And the guy who got 3 or 4, he multiplied his investment as well. But the guy who got 1 talent, think of it like $1. He buried it in the ground. He didn't do anything with it, didn't multiply it. And when the master came back, he rewarded the guy who he had given 10 to, who had multiplied. He rewarded the guy who he had given 3 or 4 talents to, who had multiplied it. And the guy who had 1 and didn't multiply it, he was cast out. He was kicked out. All right? And the master was angry. And the guys who had done more with it, the guy who had the least, it was taken from him and it was given to those who have more. See, a lot of people have this idea that people with a lot of money are somehow evil. No, the reason they have money is probably because they're good managers of it. They're good stewards of it. By the way, the Bible talks about being a good steward. A steward is basically an asset manager. All right? It's, you've been entrusted with this, manage it well. And if you can be trusted with a little, it says, you will be trusted with a lot. But if you can't be trusted with a little, if you spend everything you've got, don't be surprised if more gets taken from you. And look, you can argue with me all day if you want. That's straight out of the Bible. Go read it. All right? So think about that. Think about how are you managing your money? How are you being an asset manager with what you've been entrusted with? You know, it doesn't matter if you make $30,000 a year or $250,000 a year or $1 million a year. A lot of people are living at that 97, 98% margin where they're spending 97+% of what they make. And it's like they're not the guy making $250,000 is not in any better financial position than the guy making $40,000 a year, because they're both spending just about everything they have. And with credit cards nowadays, you can actually spend beyond 100% of what you make, and you're spending more than you're making. And then people wonder why they're one paycheck away from financial ruin, and when something goes wrong, they have no emergency fund, they have no funds anywhere, and not only do they have a financial crisis, they have a family crisis. You know, finances, by the way, is the #1 leading cause of divorce in America. What is it, like 50-some% or something like that? Crazy, right? So think about money. If money is the leading cause of divorce, shouldn't we look at this thing, money, and just look at it a little bit better and say, okay, maybe I should be doing this better. I should really become an expert on this. And look, I mean, if you know how to manage it well, you're probably going to get more. And if you don't manage it well and you spend all you have, at some point in life, it will probably be taken from you. And again, that goes back to the parable of the talents in the Bible. So be faithful with what you have. At the very least, and I'll tell you my personal financial philosophy. We do more than this sometimes, but at the very least, whenever we get money, we give the first 10%. My wife and I, we always have, we always will. We give the first 10% off the top. We save that same amount, another 10%, and we also invest 10%. That kind of goes back and forth depending on what we're looking at. Sometimes we'll have an investment here or a project there, but we basically don't live on any more than 70% of what we make. Now, you might not be able to start there because your numbers might be flipped, and you have to work yourself out of a hole. But you need to start. The thing about money is this. It's not the amount of money that makes a person wealthy. It's how much you can hang on to. Because, and here's what I mean. You can get a bunch of money and then be broke in a year. And it wasn't the amount of money that allowed you to do well financially. It was your spending habits that allowed you to either keep it or made you lose it all. I remember when I first got out of the military, I mean, we completely got out of debt. We had like $900 a month freed up. It was awesome. What did I do with my old mentality? I'm not this way anymore. We had all that freed up. I went out and I bought a brand new car. Why? Because I could do that and I still had half of that stuff left. And I sunk myself back into debt. And I actually ended up getting into a little bit deeper debt. Within a year or so, I was back in the same financial pit I had been in that I had gotten out of. And I had to climb out of that thing a second time. All right? Now, when we started spending our money better, we changed our financial habits. We give off the top. We save off the top. We pay ourselves first. We save money before we spend it. And if there isn't enough spending money there, we trim our spending. Because one way or another, that savings account, that emergency fund, those Roth IRAs, those investments, those things will grow. That is our priority. We do that first. A lot of people, they get to the end of the month and they don't have enough money. Or I heard somebody say one time they don't have enough month at the end of the money. You got a week to go and you have, $30 or $50 in your bank account. Well, that's a problem. If you think you're going to save or give what's left over at the end, there's probably not going to be much to give or save at the end. You got to do that stuff off the top. It's priorities. All right. So again, to wrap this up, I didn't mean to go this long, but I hope you've enjoyed this. Feel free to leave any comments or questions if you have money questions. Maybe you're in a tight spot. Maybe you know somebody. You're looking for some advice. I could answer your question. And if I can't, I certainly know somebody. I guarantee I know somebody, probably a lot of people who could give you that answer. I could probably connect you with or get back with you on. But if you want to make more money, you need to add more value to people into the marketplace. It could be, again, to wrap this up, what I said in the beginning, it could be a job skill. It could be a life skill. It could be a hobby you're just really good at and somebody wants to know it. They want to learn how to do it. Offer to teach people and put a price tag on it. And here's the thing about a price tag too. Don't just go out there teaching it to everybody for free. Because number one, people can't afford it. But number two, a lot of people, when you give it to them for free, they'll never use it. Just because they got it for free. They have no skin in the game. And it's a really frustrating thing when you're more committed to someone else's success than they are, and you invest your time and money into that person, and they just do nothing with it. All right, so you deserve to be paid well for providing value in the marketplace to people to teach them something or to help them get a result or overcome a problem they're facing. All right, that's the way the world works. You provide a solution, you provide value, and you get paid for it. That's life. And guess what? The better you become at that, the more money you get to charge for helping people. All right? Now, when I sit down with people, I'll do consulting. And it used to be just, however much an hour. I couldn't imagine charging $100 an hour. I thought, oh my gosh, who would pay me that? I won't quote anything on here right now, but it's a heck of a lot more than that to sit down because of what I can do talking to somebody in 60 minutes to help them get a perspective on what they're doing and help them word things well in their promotions and their ads for their business and stuff like that. I know what I can financially help them do because I've done it and I've helped other people do it, and it's proven. And so and a lot of that comes down to writing copy and ads and website copy, writing words that compel people to buy, and really knowing what to say and how to say it. It kind of comes down to knowing what words to use and then plugging them into proven structures of like headline structures, for example, that are proven to work well. And then when you put those in front of the right people, it just kind of works. So that's just a little bit there. Derek says, for fellow entrepreneurs watching, a great book is Profit First. I'm implementing in my business. Derek, I've never heard of that, but I'll have to look it up. Sounds good. Profit First. Who doesn't want that, right? Kim says, how do you prove to others that you are trustworthy and good enough to be paid? Well, one way to do that, it has a lot to do with building your credibility. And so there are a few ways to do that. Number one is being very clear on what exactly it is that you can do for them. A lot of people, they're too vague on what exactly they do. Like one of the things I help people do is clarify. I help a lot of small business owners clarify their value so they can grow their business. Like a lot of people say, I do this or I do that or I'm in that industry, but they're not saying exactly the benefit that they provide for people. So Kim, number one, getting clear on what exactly it is, the value you provide. Number two, if you've been to my website, either blownupguy.com or useyourstory.com, you'll see news logos on there. And a lot of people get this backwards. A lot of people say, oh, he's just trying to go Hollywood. He's trying to be a celebrity. I mean, these are like small-minded people, okay? Here's the deal. If you've ever wondered why I have news logos on my website, it's because, one, I've been featured and interviewed on all of those. And again, this wasn't like one of those things where you pay somebody $10,000 and they slap your name on a Fox News webpage that nobody reads. No, it's like actually going down to the studio and being on live with them. All right, so the thing about that is not to say, wow, this guy's a big deal, but I have information, I know I have information that can help people. And when I get in front of the right people who need what I have, because I add value and I can help them solve their problems, it helps them believe that this guy, Brian, knows what he's talking about. So it's nothing to do with trying to be a celebrity or anything stupid like that. I mean, who wants to live a life where you can't walk down the street without people mobbing you and taking pictures? That would just be a nightmare. All right, so it's not about celebrity, it's about credibility. And I want people to know that I know what I'm talking about. And it's funny because you'll see a lot of people on the news who honestly, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. All right, I always tell people I'm just proof that they'll let any idiot on the news. But again, there's this perception and trust if you've been featured on the radio or on the news or if you've written a book. So how else do you prove to others that you're trustworthy, Kim? Well, another way is testimonials. Now, I helped one guy, I won't mention his name, but just one of many. I helped one guy. He had just quit his job. He wanted to make a full-time living as an entrepreneur doing something he absolutely loved. It was just a skill he has. It's something he loves doing. It's a simple skill, but the guy's amazing. And he just quit, and then I met him like a week later after he gave up and quit. And we sat down. I helped him reword his messaging and like on his one sheet and his promotions that he was putting out in front of the people who could book him and hire him to come do his thing. And in the first 12 months, he made over $97,000. He made $97,000 more within the first 12 months after he and I just sat down for about an hour or two. All right, so that's a testimonial right there. So if you're ever wanting to hire me to help you with something in your business, to message, to tweak your messaging, to say it right, to say it well, that guy's one of many people I've helped. Help them launch their ventures and also become very profitable very fast. So with that kind of testimonial, and by the way, that's a results-based testimonial, there's no reason you couldn't believe that I don't know what I'm talking about, especially if you know I've done what I'm saying. When it comes to the military, again, back to the military, why do they hire Brian Fleming for resilience training? And I know it sounds weird to say my name in the third person. I'm not arrogant, I promise. But why do they hire me? Because I have credibility. They know what I've been through. They know what I've overcome. And now I go out and I teach and I speak about it. And I've developed systems and I've written books on how to overcome hell on earth and take back your life. How to stand firm when everything around you is blowing up. I know how to do it. And so that builds trust. They look at your track record. They look at what other people are saying, what they've said about you, what's your track record. I also have on my website, if you go to blownupguy.com, it's just an easy way to remember my website. You'll see on there new logos of companies I've spoken for. I've spoken for many Fortune 500, even Fortune 100 companies in their conferences. I've keynoted their events and spoke for them, again, all over the United States and the world. Now, if somebody's wanting to know how to become a public speaker, how to share their story, can you actually get paid for it? Well, that's something I've done. And you can clearly see the logos of the huge companies I've spoken for. And there's many smaller companies and organizations that you probably never heard of that I speak more for them than anything. But those are out there too. So Kim, I hope that answers your question. Colleen says, Brian, how do you get around PC stuff?
just for the younger ones, as I'm retarded. Well, PC, I'm assuming you mean politically correct. I'm not the guy to ask because I am not politically correct. I think we are doing our country a huge disservice and our younger generation a huge disservice by trying to dance around things, vital issues that are important, that affect our lives, by trying to say it in a way where somebody doesn't get offended, because everybody seems to want to get offended over the dumbest little things. And, people just need to grow a pair nowadays. They need to be able to hear something they don't like and to swallow it and deal with it. The world isn't always going to cater to you or to me, and they have to be fine with that. And it's that whole give every kid a trophy, all that crap. The greatest way to take away any kid's incentive to be the best and to excel is to give every freaking kid out there a trophy for participating. All right? If the team works hard and the football team works hard and they win and they get trophies, and then the losing team gets trophies too, why should they even try hard next time? Why would they even compete if everybody gets the same trophy? It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And so, I'm not the guy to talk to about political correctness, because I am not politically correct and I never will be. I think it's one of the worst diseases we have in our country right now, because it completely blankets over the most important issues that we have to deal with. We can't just avoid things. All right? And so, I'm glad you asked that, boy. You got me on a topic that I could just go off on, but I won't. Jared says stud. I'm assuming you're referring to yourself. I'm just kidding. Thank you, Jared's an awesome friend of mine. But anyway, any other questions? Money, making money, maybe you're in a tough spot. Even after this video is over, feel free to leave a comment. Let me know. I believe I'm here to help you to just, rediscover your voice after anything you've been through, to redeem your story, to live a life of influence that matters, to do something with your life that matters. I believe that you all have a story. I believe that you have a story and that it matters. And, okay, here we go. Kim says, any guidelines on how to write a business plan? There are so many parts to a business plan. There's no way I could get into it this time of night. You can Google it. You can look into that. You can look into probably the Better Business Bureau on how to write a plan. But here's my greatest piece of advice. Find somebody who already has a successful business and ask them if they can help you write a business plan or what their advice would be. A lot of people, and I mean like in your local area, maybe somebody you can meet with, because, here's another thing. People aren't going to like this, but college is no longer the way to succeed in life. Now, if you're going for a certain career, college is the path. But for a lot of college grads I meet who are in their mid-20s now, basically they got some stupid degree that has nothing to do with anything. It's not marketable. It's not valuable in the marketplace. Nobody wants to hire any skill having to do with that degree. And now they're buried under a mountain of debt that they're probably never going to get out of. So, having said that, mentors, I say it this way. One key mentor who is already successful at what you're trying to do is worth 10,000 college degrees. Look, you can sit around and study that stuff all you want, but until you get around somebody who actually knows how to put something into action and can show you how to actually walk it out, write it out, walk it out, go through the process, take action, and produce a result, you're not going to go anywhere. You can read all the books you want on writing a business plan. I wouldn't waste my time. I just get around people who know what they're doing. And if you don't know anybody, start looking around your city. Start driving through the rich neighborhoods. All right? I guarantee you the people in the rich neighborhoods, they're there for a reason. And not all of them, but a lot of them are business owners. All right? And so get around people, get to know them. And here's the thing. If you ask them to help you write a business plan, or if you ask them to help you with something, always the first thing you want to think is, okay, this person doesn't know me anything, but they could really be valuable to me. Think about that individual, try and think about what you know about them, and ask yourself, what value could I add to them in return? Because the greatest businesses, the greatest relationships, the greatest friendships that last are those that are mutually beneficial. Now, sometimes you don't bring much to the table, or maybe you don't think you do. But you'd be surprised, somebody might, be a multimillionaire, they know how to write a business plan and help you implement that. But you know what? They might be struggling in marriage, and you may be married for 40 or 50 years. And boy, you could add some value there. They could help you in one area where they're strong, and vice versa. But you know, everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and we all balance each other out. That's what's so important about relationships. Kim says exactly. People are always wanting to take. Yes, they are. And look, if you never want to be seen as a person just wanting to take. Always bring something of value. Even if, you know, it might not be of much value, but at least you genuinely offered it to somebody. All right? It's great to have the desire to want to add to their life. Absolutely. That makes life worth living is when we're adding value to people's lives. I mean, it feels so good to help somebody. And I'm going to be working on Monday with a guy who's trying to get into the military. He's trying to get a certain score on the ASVAB, which is the entry exam into the military, and he needs to get his score higher. So I'm going to help him with that on Monday. I'm not getting anything out of that. I get the satisfaction of helping him, and I'm pretty sure he's going to do well. And I know I can help him with that because I passed that test, and I pretty much know what it entails. And so, again, he has a lot of strengths. He has weaknesses, as do I. So I can help him complement his weakness where he's weak, and he can help me complement mine, where maybe I'm stumbling. Colleen says, homeschool your kids, let them learn the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, respect. I agree 100%. People perish for their lack of knowledge. That's in the Bible, and it's absolutely true. I don't know if we've ever lived in a time where people are basing their lives and their decisions they're making on things that are complete fallacies. They don't even really exist. I mean, a lot of people, they're basing their decisions, their finances, their livelihood on things that don't even actually exist. And it's because it's a bunch of drama spun up by the news, and I'm not going to go into that. But again, if you want to make more money and do well financially, you can start tomorrow. You can start today. You can start tonight. In the next 7 days, you can sit down. Heck, in the next 2 or 3 days, in the next day, tomorrow, you can sit down and you can look at those 3 things I talked about. Where are you highly competent? And if you don't know, get like 1 or 2 people down to sit down with you and talk to them and ask them, where am I highly competent? I did this with my wife the other day, and it helped so much for me to get clarity. I said, where am I highly competent? We made a list. I said, what are the things that I really enjoy? And then I said, where do these add value to the world? Where do these meet a great need? Jacob Tripp says, we are in a society that does not fact check. Oh my gosh, dude, that is the statement of the century. In fact, I saw a meme on Facebook. It had something like, it was like a picture of Abe Lincoln. It was a quote, and it basically said, don't trust everything you read on the internet. Obviously, Abe Lincoln wouldn't know that because the internet did not exist in the 1860s when he died. I believe it was the 60s, Civil War era. Kim says, your business plan advice just helped my husband big time. Awesome! That's why I'm alive. And I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I helped. You can probably think of some people. And if you don't know people who know how to do that well, maybe they're not highly successful in business themselves, you probably know somebody who knows somebody. In fact, I don't know who said this, but I really believe it's true. I heard a guy say one time that you and I are only 3 people away. We're only 3 people away from meeting the person we need to meet to go to the next level. All right, so it's basically you know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. You're only like 3 people away from meeting the person you need to meet to accomplish whatever it is you need to do. Interesting thing there. Kim says he and 2 friends created an unbreakable computer encryption. Wow. All right, now we just had a little lapse in connection there. Well, Kim, that sounds quite valuable to me. I'm sure the United States government and, boy, I could say something politically there, but I won't. I'm sure the United States government and the military and a lot of businesses would love to have an unbreakable computer encryption. And so, highly valuable. Again, add value. If you want to make more money, add more value. Where are you highly competent? Your credibility will come in there. And also, here's the thing too. You might get a job because you know the right person, but you're going to keep the job because you're amazing at it and you produce more value than you cost to the company. If you're costing the company $50,000 a year in salary and you're helping them produce $100,000 to $150,000 or more, you are highly valuable to that company. All right. So where are you highly competent? What do you enjoy? All right. And where does it meet a great need in the world? Find where those three overlap. It's going to be kind of narrow in the middle. You're going to really chisel this thing down, and it's going to be very revealing to you. All right, so if you want to make more money, add more value to people's lives and to businesses.